In this lesson, we'll address the bags under the eyes in addition to the frown lines and discuss the degree to which we retouch them. So let's go ahead and continue on. So in our previous lesson, we tackled those crow's feet that are on the outer edges of the eyes right there, as well as cleaning up the neck. If you recall, we had some wrinkles down there on the neck that were still visible despite being out of focus. So we now want to go ahead and focus on these bags under the eyes. We have some wrinkles in there, as well as these frown lines, just these little wrinkles right above the eyebrows. And now that we've become acquainted with the healing brush tool and what it's capable of, we want to start thinking about the degree to which we remove some of these wrinkles on the face. So let's go ahead and create a new layer, and I'll kind of show you what it will look like if you remove these wrinkles in their entirety. So just as we've done before, I'm sampling, just holding down Alt, using my healing brush tool, and I'm basically just cloning out these wrinkles. Okay? So just kind of getting in there, getting right up to the edge. Okay, so we've got that side, and we'll go ahead and come over here. And already you can probably notice that it just doesn't feel quite natural. Okay, so it's too clean. Okay, it just feels very unnatural, almost kind of alien-like. And if you really wanted to make it look even worse, you could take your clone stamp tool and just completely remove that bag under the eye in its entirety. Okay, and that's kind of quick and crude what I'm doing right here. I'm just trying to illustrate a point that it looks unnatural in that there's no supportive element right there to basically hold the eye in the socket. It doesn't feel like the eye sits naturally in the socket right there. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Z, just take a few steps back, kind of remove what I did there with the clone stamp. So what can we do here to kind of rein this back in just a little bit? I still want to show some evidence here of these wrinkles. Well, on this layer that we created, I'm going to go ahead and create a layer mask, and you can do this by clicking on this button here. Now, before I do this, I'm going to hold down Alt and then click on it, and this will give me a layer that's a mask rather that's filled with black. And so having done that, we can see now that all of that information that we just did right there with the healing brush tool, you can no longer see it. Okay, so anything in black is going to give us something that's very much visible, and if we go ahead and switch our foreground color to white, anything we paint in white will reveal what's underneath that mask. So with our foreground color set to white, I'm going to go ahead and grab my brush tool. I'm just going to go ahead and use this soft round brush. It's just a default brush. It comes with Photoshop. Might adjust the size just a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and come over here to my brush panel, and let's go ahead and check mark transfer. And you can see here we have opacity and flow. Don't worry about changing the percentage for the jitter, but focus on the controls for each one of these. I'm using a stylus, so I'm making sure that these are set to pen pressure. Okay. If you're using like a mouse or something, you may want to come up here and adjust your opacity and flow up here at the top of your control panel. This basically allows me to dictate the level or the degree to which my opacity and flow is affected based off of how much pressure I apply with my stylus. Okay, so again, we've got white as our foreground color, and making sure that this mask is still selected, I'm painting white over that area of the mask, and you can kind of see it faintly revealed in there. So I'm starting to kind of cover back up or reveal basically that cloned information that I applied with my healing brush tool. And if we kind of zoom in here, you can kind of see what I'm doing here. I still want to kind of have some remnants of those wrinkles in there. It'll just feel more natural, especially given kind of the age that I'm trying to peel back for this gentleman. Okay, and of course, if you want to go back in the other direction, if you want to reveal a little bit more of it, you can switch back to black as your foreground color. So that's feeling a little bit nicer. So we haven't removed the wrinkles in their entirety. There's still a little bit of that wrinkled information in there. That just feels a little bit more natural than having something that's completely flush, completely clean. Let's go ahead and basically repeat this process with our frown lines. So going back to my healing brush tool, we'll do the same thing. I'll just clone out that information there, basically sampling along the edges of those lines. And again, the healing brush tool, it's putting into account the shadows and the lighting. I'll even get rid of these little lines right here across the bridge of the nose. So it's good to kind of remove them in their entirety, just to kind of see what it looks like and then rein yourself in. That's kind of what I like. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, same thing, holding down Alt, clicking on the Layer Mask button right here. Again, you can see everything is restored, switching back to white as my foreground color. And we'll go ahead and start to kind of reveal some of that information that we created using our healing brush tool. And so I still want to kind of see these little frown lines right here, but I just don't want them to be as prominent. Okay? So something kind of like that. And then, of course, making that comparison by just checking and unchecking the visibility icon right here out to the left of the layer. Okay? So I kind of like that, being able to see just a little bit there. And again, we could kind of go back in the other direction just a little bit more if we want to. All right, very nice. Really happy with how that's looking. Again, just kind of making those visual comparisons there. So in our next lesson, we're going to continue on focusing on these brow wrinkles right here that we have. Again, we'll kind of keep the same mindset. We don't want to remove them in their entirety. We don't want him to feel like he was Botoxed or anything like that, right? So we'll focus on that. And then from there, we're going to switch it up. And we're going to go ahead and start focusing on some of the stubble that he has and how we can kind of work around getting rid of a lot of these little white hairs, again attributing to the goal of turning back time with our guy here. So stick around and we'll catch you in our next lesson.